So this is my Strava dashboard. For those of you who don't use Strava or are not familiar with it, it's a top-notch running social media app, site, tracking facility, community, etc., etc. It's really good. Would strongly recommend. There is a free version, so you can just jump on and you can record things on your phone. You can follow people who are of interest to you. Record runs or any activity really. You can sync it up with your smartwatch or those sorts of things. So definitely recommend Strava. It's where I kind of record most of my running. And actually, even when I'm doing stuff not via my watch, if I'm just recording stuff on if I'm just doing something on a treadmill, for instance, I will still stick it in Strava so that I have my full record in one place. So if we just take a quick gander through my recent activities, you can see here this one was just an easy run on a treadmill, and then this one was running outside. At the moment, I'm doing a lot of running on treadmills because my breathing is pretty terrible, and I don't do well in the cold specifically because of my asthma. So I sort of alternate a bit. This is largely just me running through the gym, jumping on a treadmill, then running back. Of course, we've just entered tier 4 lockdown, so there will be no more going on the gym. But never mind. So I'll have to just embrace the cold a little bit. Here's where I tried to do a bit of Joe Wicks to keep up my fitness during the cold lockdown months. But anyway, so you can see I typically alternate between running on the treadmill and then doing a few runs outside. You can see my couple of things of interest over here. So my weekly target is about 50k per week, which the mathematically inclined of you will note translates to about 2,600 kilometers a year. Fell well short this year. I'm going to blame various things. I'm not going to blame anything. It's a poor year. Not what you'd want. But anyway, so that's part of the reason I want to, use this docu-series to sort of improve and get better. Year before, 2019, I did get 2,500 kilometers, which is why I slightly upped my goal to 2,600 this year, but fell a bit short. I think next year I'm going to be a bit more ambitious and I'm going to aim for 3,000 kilometers in the year. So we shall see. Right, so let's maybe just have a quick look at the old training calendar. So this is one of the nice features of Strava, so you can kind of see how things were through the year. So you can see a couple of times. So I started the year reasonably well. February was my best month, in fact. I was suffering a bit in the early months with a bit of plantar fasciitis, and I had a knee problem. So it wasn't the best start to the year. I did actually do a bit of physio, which sort of limited how much running I could do. But then I sort of got back on it in February, very consistent month, lots of long runs in there as well, which was nice. But then it sort of fell apart in March when the whole world really fell apart. And to be honest, I sort of lost a bit of motivation between March and April. I thought, you know what, the world's locked down, everything's gone to shit, so I'm going to sack off the running. But I did manage to get a bit more motivation through the summer. Nothing too strong to write home about, but at least I managed to keep it going. October, unfortunately, I got very ill during October. Don't know if it was COVID, who knows? And then missed a bit there. Sort of came back in November, but again, lost a bit of motivation through November and December. And I've tried to end the year a little bit on a high, a couple of runs. If I flick to 2019, you can see this is much better. There you go. As I say, I got my 2,500 kilometers for the year, very consistent, usually very rarely a week off, something going on. I'll talk about this spike in a minute. And actually a couple of races through the year as well, which is what I want to get back to next year. I mean, it's a tough one because obviously it's difficult to plan around races at the moment, but we shall see. One thing that is useful, if you're a subscriber, you can actually change your view here and it will flick to the training log. Which is a nice way to visually see kind of how you've been doing. As I say, I took most of November off, much to my chagrin. And this recovery jog, lunch run, another recovery jog, not a lot of good stuff going on. So I'm trying to run about 50k a week. not so great. And you can see down here the number of races. The only race I entered in 2019 was a virtual race, which if I flick to here, this will give you a bit of a sense of my fitness levels. So I managed that in so this was an actual outdoor race, which was nice, and I managed it in, oh, excuse me, I wasn't expecting this view. How do I get back? If I just go to my overview, here we go. So sponsored by Standard Chartered, got a nice t-shirt, which was good. I did it in 21:11, which is not particularly strong for me. My personal best 5K time on a treadmill, to be sure, is 18 minutes 33 seconds. So, this wasn't particularly strong, but I was just pleased to do it. As I said, I was a bit unmotivated at the start of the year and can blame a bit of injury. Anyway, so that's the only race I entered this year, which is a bit rubbish. However, 2019 was a bit more entertaining. So Manchester Marathon was the first race of the year. So in April 2019, this was and remains my personal best marathon time. So let's go to overview here. So 3:09, very, very pleased with that. I definitely beat my expectations. Obviously, Strava records stuff over your phone, and I think I messed around at the start or something, but this was my chip time. Very good. As you can see, I got a PB by 33 minutes. So, I'd obviously not been running to my potential before. Sub 3 remains my big goal. Unfortunately, next time still hasn't happened. So this is where my this is where my marathon PB is at the moment. If I head on back to the old training log, what else did we have in 2019? I did a mile relay race with some friends. That was quite a good fun. 10K in 42:50. Not quite my personal best, but not a million miles off, to be honest. I haven't managed an actual outdoor 10K sub 40 yet. So that's a big goal of mine. I would like to get that done at some point next year. That's a big target. On a treadmill, I have managed that on a treadmill. My personal best on a treadmill is about 38.5 minutes. So I don't see why it can't translate to a proper race. But I know they're very different things, of course. Half marathon, so you can't see my personal best times there, but this one, I believe, unless I have that wrong, was my current PB. Yes, there we go. So 1 minute, 30 seconds, 21 on the half marathon remains my PB. Was actually training for a marathon at this point, so wasn't really pushing for a sub 130. Sub 130 is still obviously a big goal. I mean, my ultimate goal is a sub 3-hour marathon. So, gonna have to string a couple of sub 130s together to get that. But yeah, I'm still quite pleased with this. Not 100% sure that it was legit. There were quite a few of us on the course who were commenting on perhaps this was a bit of a short race, so maybe there's like 30 seconds sort of hanging around out there that's not legit. But either way, sort of mid 130 mid is I've had other races that. So so quite pleased with that. I was training for a marathon at the time, so these were sort of test races, and unfortunately here we go. We can see my marathon attempt in September did not go well. I didn't finish, so I got an hour and 4 minutes in on sub 3 place. So at least I've sort of managed to do over an hour at the required pace. But unfortunately, if I recall at the time, I believe my hip was giving me a bit of grief, and it did not feel very good. And I probably didn't have the fitness, if I'm being perfectly honest. But yeah, I did stop that deliberately. I tried to. I still think that was the right decision, given that my hip was troubling me. And then a few weeks later, interestingly, my first ever ultra marathon, where I ran the Ultra Tour of Edinburgh. which was a 57-kilometer race, which took me 6.5 hours. And I ran with a friend, and it was a really good time, actually. I mean, it was not this time in particular. I think the winner was sub 5, but I just really enjoyed myself. Looking back, I enjoyed myself. I mean, there's just so many kilometers, it just keeps going. And this is a reasonably tame ultra. You can see a couple of rests there, and you can see we did have a bit of elevation at the start. So second half was pretty flat, but to be honest, this was an absolute killer. In fact, that is where this photo comes from. So anyway, that's a bit of my history, I hope to improve on a couple of those specific things. And welcome to the journey. Thank you for following along if you are. Thank you for leaving comments if you do. And I will catch you when I catch you. Cheers.